Hello, well, it's Shylo, and I'm here with the founder of the MacKenzie Global Network, Deborah Mackenzie, a power woman, a power networker, which I'm going to ask you about in a little bit, a co-author, and just a purpose-driven woman, which is why I have you on here because this has been my newest project, but my passion is, as our story unfolds, and as you know, like we never know when it's happening, where we're going to go. It's so cute because I actually met you a few weeks ago and this idea had popped into my mind and I was working with a friend and I'm like, the purpose-driven woman. Like we started to talk about, hey, I want to work with, and it started for me, athletes and the wives, because I was a wife of an athlete for so long and now I'm the purpose-driven ex-wife, and then it got to talking about domestic abuse and, it was going from there. And lo and behold, I go to this amazing event in San Diego where I met so many people, but you stood out. I mean, you came up to me and it was like instant. It was like, we need to collaborate. We need to change the freaking world because there's just there's so many women out there that are they're high level functioning, they're working multiple businesses, owning, they're organizing and they have nonprofits and all this. But there is this piece of that because these women are put almost on pedestals, it's like it's not the same. You get treated a little bit different. Oh, you'll be okay. Or you're going to be okay. And we know personally, both of us, so many women who go through, traumatic events, whether it be separations, divorces, are stuck in toxic relationships, or they are supporting a partner and they need an outlet. And so there's multiple facets of a purpose-driven woman. It's not just about the domestic abuse and having things over there. It's multiple faceted. So I just want you to say hello to our viewers, our guests, and, real quick, where are you from? Maybe now, where are you from? And where are you originally from? And we're going to dive in because I want to just learn so much from you.
Sure. Well, I really appreciate you having me on. I mean, what a surprise. I do interviews myself, so it's nice to come at the opposite end of this. One of the big things, I felt the same way when I met you. I went to that event, and it's amazing when you put your intentions out there, how the right people manifest and come into your life. We just never know who's going to be put in front of us. I know we all have probably had experiences like that. I'm actually, to answer your question, I'm actually in the San Francisco Bay Area. I grew up here until I was 3, and then I grew up in Houston, Texas. So if you notice the accent, I do speak Tex-Mex. So you'll notice the twang here, something else there. So we have our own language there, y'all. It's just what it is. So I'm just letting you know it might come out a little bit. Um, so where else where should we start as far as?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we were just talking, it was the show before the show. You always wish you could click record sometimes because you were going through all your slides in the backgrounds, and you're also an author. I talked about that co-author with your mother. And I think that story, why don't we start there? At the beginning of the story, because your mother was a bone cancer survivor and you two co-authored a book. You had started it, but let's talk about we talked about how it began and, being a child of somebody going through this. That is a totally different world. And you started writing and you did not know that your mother had also been planning on writing. So there was a lot going on. So let's just talk about when this started, what was going on in your life? You were 10 years old. Why don't we start from there?
So I grew up in Houston, Texas, outskirts in a little town called Splendora, in the middle of where you have a beautiful house, and then you have this little trailer park, and then you have a bunch of junk. I mean, it was like one of those type of places.
Oh yeah, I'm a small town girl. I get it.
It was so out in the country, but it was very beautiful. We had a beautiful house, a lot of acreage. It was just so nice, and my mom and me always had a lot of tension toward each other. There was a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. And I'll explain why in a minute. What happened was, when I was 10 years old, my mom was given 6 months to live and she was diagnosed with bone cancer. So I was told that and had no idea why there was so much tension created. So my mom, just to let you guys know, not leave you hanging. So my mom had a 69-pound bone tumor. It was the size of two watermelons. It got that big. And she had two brain surgeries, her collarbone removed, and her baby pinky removed. She died 35 years after she was given 6 months to live. The longest bone cancer survivor in history.
Wow.
And one of the biggest things that she did was she learned alternative health care. She was an energy worker. She became a homeopathic doctor. She did Brain One, if those of you that know what that is. Herbalist. I mean, she was trying to save her life and she wanted to be there for my brother and me. So basically what happened, was I grew up very disconnected from my mom. I was very angry at her. In fact, I write in the book, at one point, I actually told her that I wish she would have just stayed gone because because it would just be easier to deal with. That would just be an easier way to deal with things. So she wound up, she did write a book and she was doing all this things. She opened up a whole clinic, a massage therapist. She helped kids with dyslexia. She had doctors working for her. I mean, she was just a go-getter. She actually had formed, I didn't know this until I read the book and we might talk to my dad later, but she actually was raising capital at the time because she wanted to build centers around the world so that people that have cancer can be taken care of. And this is before we had assisted living places and all of that. This was like back in the late 80s, early 90s. She was putting this stuff together. So she was ambitious. She wrote poems. She was not a person who sat in the bed and cried and woe is me. I've never heard her complain. Never. And that was part of why she survived so long. So to go move forward, I was around 37, 38, and I said, I need to write this. I need to write a story about what it's like growing up as a child and having this disconnect with their mom because people don't realize the kids are going through it too. It's always about the person that's sick. It's never about the family or the kids or whatever. And so I said, why don't I put a nice spin on that? So I started writing, then we found her book and I kind of just started, I wrote everything up, got it going, wanted to combine the two together.
I love that.
So when I was 10, I thought I caused it because we got on an airplane flight to California to see one of my grandmothers. And I found the seats that were, those seats that go back, at the end of the back of the plane where nobody wants to sit, they don't fold back. Well, I found those and she started crying about her leg. And then that's when I found out that we found all this out. So to make a long story short, this story is a mother and daughter story. It's something that everybody can use honestly in their relationships. There's a lot of things I would have done different. Me and my mom really grew at the end of her life. I was actually always one of these business-minded career girls, just boom, boom, boom. So when she was on her deathbed, I didn't deal so well with it. So I was planning the funeral because I had a business conference I was putting on. And so, I'm like planning the funeral. I'm thinking, well, how long is she going to live? Well, she probably won't live more than this many days. Well, let's give her a little bit longer. So I got the funeral planned, everything. And she's in there. She can't hear or talk. And I'm like, well, she would want to know what we're doing for her funeral. She'd want to be involved, which I really believe she would have. But my point is that's how I dealt with the grief. And that's pretty much how I dealt with it my whole life. I left. I couldn't be around. I didn't know, but it makes sense. As a 10-year-old in their mind, in my subconscious, I thought I caused her sickness. Right. So for me to be back away every time I was dealing and seeing her and seeing this, I was internalizing it, not knowing it, but I was internalizing I caused this. So once I was able to really release that, things went well. Well, my mom did not, because she heard me talking. She did not die then. So we had the funeral planned. So we did it a month or two later. But the whole point was it's like, you're not going to plan my death. So about 2 years later, I moved into a little cute tree house. in Orinda, California, and COVID just happened, and I thought, if this is the time to put the book together, let's do it. So it's literally within 2 weeks, I got the book together. It went Amazon bestseller on Mother's Day in honor of my mom, and it was very healing and nurturing for me. And one thing I will say, those of you that are sick, that have some illness or cancer or just whatever it is, get your story out. Get your story out, because this is the reason why. Is you don't know who, if it's just one person or one marriage or one product that could save your life or save that, no, maybe not yours, but somebody else that's going through it, it adds encouragement. So I did lots of research. I went to lots of groups with people with bone cancer, asking them what they want. They said, if we just heard one good experience, that would keep us hoping and fighting for hope. So I highly encourage everybody to write something and put it down in writing. If nothing else, it's for you and for your memory, and it's very healing.
Well, you brought up a lot of topics, and that's a beautiful story because, everybody can relate to either a mother, daughter, a son, and a father. I mean, I always talk about this. Everybody has trauma, big or small. Everybody's got something, and that inner child, it remembers that 10-year-old little girl. And it comes out in relationships, it comes out in fear, it comes out in all these things. And until we can identify it will stay with us. And so, I have not a similar relationship with my mom, but she had a chronic illness all of our childhood, basically. Since I was like 10, 12, she was dealing with chronic pain, which led to medications that got her addicted to medications forever and ever, because that was the answer back in the 80s. In the 80s, it was like, just give them this, give them Loratab, Percocets. It was giving them all these things. And then there's addiction issues. And then there's, alcohol issues. It was just this combination. So I had a lot of anger and resentment toward my mother for so long. And what's so interesting is your story. This sad but very inspiring woman, the woman who just, she beat bone cancer, basically. She beat it in the way. Yeah, she did all these things, but this book brings you together. And, I would encourage people to do this. Fix your relationships before you have to get to these points, because it took my divorce to my second husband for me and my mom to have a relationship. And now we're working on it, and we have a relationship, and we can actually communicate and be healthy. But there was a lot of years in there missed.
Yeah.
Years. And there was a lot of anger and resentment on my part. Like, even when she was trying at times, I just couldn't do it. And, I just encourage people, don't wait until tragedy happens. Don't wait until, somebody is, at the end. It's like, get in there and heal your shit, is what I say to people, is you got to heal your shit. Like, and also having communities, having women like you. And so we're going to go into that, because when I say power networker, that is you, but you are, the definition of power networking. I want you to define what power networking is, because that's what you do. You are a power networker. You bring all these people together, organizations together. Let's talk about what you do with the MacKenzie Global Network and what you're doing to impact so many people on so many levels.
Well, I'm going to switch my slide back over because I
love it. I love it.
I didn't plan on having this backdrop theme, but hey.
Hey, if you have it, we love it.
Yeah. So my story around networking, I've always been a connector, always been into the connecting world. I actually ran for a company called CEO Space International. The founder was Bernie Dorman, and he was my mentor. We traveled the world together. I opened up networking clubs, and our whole thought process was, how can I serve you? What can I do to take that weight off of your back and help you? Because see, the little person, let's just use my mom's book as an example. Somebody who has an idea, or we actually went to CEO Space because we built an invention because of my mom. And so we're still trying to get that out on the market, but we've been working on it. We went there because the person doesn't know necessarily how to raise capital, who to connect with. how to get that person, and they have amazing ideas. And it's a lot of ideas go to waste because people don't know how to collaborate or know people to know people that know people. They just don't know how to do it. So one of my big passions out there, and the reason I created the MacKenzie Network was because I absolutely loved what Bernie had created. I got to watch it. I got to, we spent hours together on the road. And I wanted to create something a little bit different. CEO space is definitely the roots of what I've created here. But I wanted to form something where I could get together with different networks. Mainly, I feel like my life is turning into the direction of supporting a lot of nonprofits and
Yeah.
bring nonprofits and businesses together. Because most nonprofits and a lot of foundations, they don't know how to do business. They have an idea, and what they do is they'll get a second out of their home and they'll say, God is directing me to do this, and it's just going to happen. And then they don't, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So that is one reason why I've created, and I have a TV program going right now. Got 20 episodes. It's on Amazon Fire and on Roku. It's under Careers from Home, and the topic is working from home, entrepreneurs from startup to seasoned. So I'm going in and I'm interviewing somebody to the basic level of how to start and form a company, how to do the marketing, the advertisement, bringing in nonprofits that have these amazing ideas so that they can partner together with other nonprofits, and then how to take your company and your exit strategy, how to go IPO with a company, all while you're learning business. So I really want to embrace helping people connect, and not just necessarily put networking groups all over. I want to do it more through media, where I can help it with media, help connections. I want them to be able to go to the MacKenzie Network and be able to look for whatever topic they want and be able to pull something up, or a sheet or a connection that they can make going to the website. They have a dream and a desire. Here's Score. Score will walk you through everything you need to know on how to get a business. I'm right now working with, I'm going to be interviewing him, but was a professor at Berkeley, and it's a give back. How many people know about that? I just met a guy yesterday who told me all about, he told me, and when I find things, I really move on it. He told me about medical insurance that as a nonprofit that people can call up, and he had kidney issues. His prescription was $700 a month, and he was able to find this source for nonprofits that was free. So we don't know what nonprofits are. We really don't. And I am a survivor of domestic violence of over 22 years. And I know people go in and they talk about, emotional abuse is not the same as the physical abuse, and this and this and this. And I kept it in. I hid it so well. Oh, I hid it so well. I was the business-driven woman. And about 13 years ago, I got this download. Well, I call it a download. I went in my room and I started crying. I was at a leadership retreat, and I just felt like I'm supposed to do something around helping people with domestic violence. I had just gotten back with my husband. They say it takes 8 times before you actually get out of a marriage. It takes 8 times. You'll go back. And especially, it's not a topic you want to have at the dinner table with your girlfriend.
No.
And especially if doctors will actually go, let's say you're an open heart surgeon doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Come home, you're going through it. You're going to go stay at a hotel. You're not going to go sleep on a cot at Heather House.
Right.
You're going to keep that quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And so women every day, politicians' wives, different ones, there's no program that has been put in place for these ladies.
Right.
It's just, you hope you have a friend. And then what happens is you might be, celebrities. I mean, it's just everyone. So I thought, this was 10 years ago. I had just gotten back with my husband, but I had this vision that I'm supposed to do, something around helping these women. And then another 10 years went by, and I finally got out of the marriage, finally divorced, and all of that's done. So now I'm at the point where do I take this plan that I've been wanting to do for years and help women? And I want to help women on on a higher influence level, professional level, I want to set something up separate for those ladies because it's a different conversation. It's a completely different conversation than somebody else is going to have because people think, well, because you've got money, you should be able to get out.
You should be able, you're okay.
Yeah,
You're okay. You've
right.
got money. It's different for you. You don't have to worry about this. And I think let's hold on to that because we're gonna dive into this a little bit
Okay.
deeper. But you
So
talk,
you might have to redirect me.
no. I'm here. I'm here, girl. That's my job. But I'm loving it, and we're going right into what we're going to talk about. But when we talk about from the startup, let's just go right back there real quick before we move forward. To have somebody like you and to create something where, I'm a creator. I'm like the birdie. I'm like, I have a great idea. And when you talked about getting a download, yes, we get divine downloads, whether that's if you want to say you're speaking with God, if you're getting a message from your inner self, if you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, I love Abraham Hicks, we're all about it here. So just don't worry about that. But to have this almost like a one-stop shop where it's like, listen, I have an idea and I need to know somebody who can connect me to the connecting people. Like, so you go to Deborah because that's the thing is like people like me, I have multiple ideas or I want to do this, and this, but it's like, okay, but you can't just go to one person and they're, minus you. You have to go to somebody who has the connections all around so they can guide you. And also, I'm not good with financial things. I don't know about some of the stuff with companies and the things. It's like you need to have someone you can trust who has experience. That's huge for me. I'm not going to somebody who's been in networking for 2 years to tell me how to, you know what I mean? You have to have some vetted.
They need to be vetted.
They need to be vetted. And that means you have to go through someone like you who has all this experience, is vetted, who's vetted all these other people. And when you bring up nonprofits, it's so incredible because how many nonprofits nobody knows about. They're absolutely mind-blowing and they need somebody to get it out there. And people need to know about these nonprofits. So what you're doing is absolutely incredible. Power networking. Hello, I love it. And now as we go into your next project, which is where me and you were like,
Yeah.
like, okay. Because, and I didn't suffer from physical abuse, but it emotional and mental. And I do want to say this is that this abuse happens on both ends sometimes. When you're in these situations, you also have to look like I had to look at myself in my divorce and go, hey, I did this too. I was verbal. I had done, I was reacting and doing things. And I suffered with, I was drinking myself to death after a while because I was just so like, I didn't know how to handle what was happening in my world. And so when I made the decision to leave, and this is where I want to start because this is what really needs to happen for women. And it everybody matters, but we can guide people to, you talked about Heather House and their shelters and things like that. And I'm not saying that's fun or easy, and that's not. But when you talk about somebody who they're not going to go out and say, I'm being abused and then go to their job and work, because there is a lot of stigma behind this. It's not, you don't just say that. No, and of course you don't just accuse people either. But it's not something you go shout on social media and say, hey, guess what? I'm being verbally abused at home, or, and this is why I'm leaving. No, we need to have a place in a community for women at high levels to have a safe place, but a community of high level women and also supporters that can say, hey, this is a good option financially, to protect yourself. And every woman needs to be financially independent. I do not care if you are in love to the mountains and back. He'd never do anything. It's not about men being bad. Men are not all bad.
I was going to add to that. So
Not.
as this is going and morphing, and I'm really, working on this,
Yeah.
I moved from a tree house, which was very therapeutic, to a beach house that if you saw where it was, it's an old lighthouse. You would just fall over where I'm living. It's just the waves crash under my house. It's amazing. So I still don't know why I'm here, but then I found out why I'm here, because I'm wanting to create a safe space for women to go. And I don't want just, it's okay. celebrities or high profile ladies, doctors, there's going to be a space. There's going to be a space for other women.
Yeah.
There's going to be a space for men too, but
Yeah.
they're not all going to be together at the same location. And so the theme is all around lighthouses because lighthouses is a protection. It's a refuge for us. So living here, seeing the lighthouse, meditating out there right on the pier, I'm going, why aren't we doing something around lighthouses and setting up something we can rebuild? And I being a real estate agent, I have seen lots of things out there in order to get properties and stuff that I can't really talk much about. But just know this, I'm working very hard on getting us some properties funded so that we can build. I've already got the builder and the landscape. I mean, got everything set into place to make this happen. But in order to do this, I'm going to need some women to jump on board with me. I really am asking right now, and I'm going to put it out there and hopefully manifest this. I'm looking for 15 women to join me in Calistoga by Napa Valley in the end of September, October. It's going to be a retreat, and we're going to set up a way to get this going. We're also going to set up the very first. I'm wondering if I can put this in here.
Of course.
We're going to set up the very first domestic violence cruise on a global scale. I'm just going to go big. Okay, we're not there yet. We got to start though. So I'm asking 15 women to come together so that we can brainstorm and we can see how we can grow this. We might have to start with one group first. We just get one piece of property first and we build the model on it and we grow from there.
Yeah.
But I really believe that once this thing starts moving, we're going to see more people wanting to jump in. We're going to learn not to hide it. We're going to learn how to teach our younger children how to notice this stuff, how to not, marry somebody that is abusive because they grew up in that and that's comfortable to them. So there's just so much around it. So I'm going to put it out there. I'm really looking. I went yesterday and found the perfect location. I looked at a couple of them. So it's going to be a spa day retreat. It's going to be about 3 or 4 days. And I'm really hoping that we can find some women that are already, they don't know what to do. They have ideas, but they don't know what to do. And we can all brainstorm and leave there with a huge plan. And then it can grow over time. We'll just start in our backyard, but over time it can grow to a global scale.
Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of women who, will be watching this that will definitely not, even if they can't be at that retreat, definitely be interested in either supporting it, or maybe somebody is having, things happening right now in their world. And so if they want to connect with you, I'm going to have them do that after this. But, the purpose-driven woman, we talked about that. And this is what it is. It's purpose-driven women that are coming together as a community and collaborating and, supporting each other, whether it be in nonprofits, whether it be in this new venture that you're doing. I'm so excited about it. Like, I totally believe it. I have a lighthouse right outside here. Right outside here, we have a beautiful lighthouse, right off the pier. And then my favorite lighthouse is up the shore, and it's my favorite lighthouse, and I go there all the time. And it is that place. It's that sanctuary, and we need to create that sanctuary as women, but also men need that sanctuary. We did talk about that, and I do want to bring that up before we close. I know men who have been abused. I know men who've been through severe trauma, physical and emotional, and it's a thing, and men need this as well. So this is not just a woman thing, although we talk, we're very strong on the women and being financially independent, but men also are a part of this community, and we want people to know that. And I think there's a stigma. And before we go, domestic violence is a term where people are like, "Ooh, I don't want to say that because if I say it, it's going to sound horrible and it's going to sound like, it's like it's embarrassing." No, we need to normalize the conversation around domestic violence, normalize the conversation around trauma in general. And that's really a mission of mine. And part of getting my voice back was, no, we can talk about this stuff. We can talk about whatever we want. It's okay. This is a safe place. And know that you're supported. And I think that's what's really important. So, Deborah, you are very supported and are supporting so many. So how can people get in contact with you, whether it be for the MacKenzie Global Network or for this new project? Where would you like to have them go?
The MacKenzieNetwork.com is really and truly like my website, talks about me, you know, what the goal is. It's talking about really my show too, startup to season. But I'm going to ask you if you could email me what it is, because I'm still working on creating a separate page for that. And so if you can just email me at the MacKenzie Network, and just click on, just do Gmail.
Mm.
And I actually have a different one that doesn't have the Gmail, but that's the one I'm thinking of right now. So if you could just use right up here, right on the corner here, I guess it's right here, the MacKenzie Network, at Gmail. I would love to get feedback from any of you. I know there's voices out there that are watching this right now that they've been praying to find a tribe to help them. And we're here.
Absolutely. And it's been such a pleasure and a blessing getting to know you and meeting you. And it was divine timing. It was on purpose. It was intentional. I mean, it was like a magnet. And so I can't wait to see you again in person. I can't wait to just collaborate, because there's so much we can all do together, but we're just powerful women. There's powerful women
Absolutely.
ready to be working together and doing things like this. And you are a purpose-driven woman. I'm so grateful that you came on the show.
And I just want to say back to you, thank you for opening a space like this for these powerful women and helping women to grow. And you're amazing. I saw the moment I saw you, I was just drawn to you. So thank you for giving us the space to be able to speak and talk. That's very much appreciated.
Absolutely. My lighthouse, Deborah Mackenzie. I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on and enjoying another episode on Shylo, and we'll catch you on the next one.